Hey everyone, midweek, mid-month, November. We're gonna have a great conversation with Brad Rourke, President CEO of Scottie Resources. We're gonna have a bit of fun here too. We're gonna talk about let's see what comes up. Maybe a little bit of Alberta, a little bit of oil and gas and energy because of Brad's background. We'll talk about Scottie Resources. We're gonna talk about a bunch. We're gonna talk about gold. Oh my God, the world is falling apart. Gold has dropped. Bitcoin's through the roof. I don't know. Let's get into a whole bunch of stuff. Brad, and I'll also with a caveat being I've known Brad for quite some time. We're good friends. So this is going to be a fun conversation. Send in any questions too. I'll try to look at them while we're yapping away about everything. And we'll get a sense of like where you think the market is, where you think precious metals are, and just kind of your take on things right now. And we'll just let you get going on this conversation, Brad. How are you? Oh, you're muted. You're muted. So we're just wait for Brad to get he's muted here for a second. Oh, still muted. That's okay. We're live. We'll get oh, here we go.
Okay, there
yes, there we go. I was gonna do maybe try to read your lips and then just redo your part for you.
Yeah. Well, at least we're not talking about tech.
Oh yeah. yeah. You're a hardware engineer.
Unmute. Yeah. So, anyhow, and you know, I mean, we had Blackberries when we worked together because we worked together over 25 years ago.
Oh, I know.
And at a really exciting time, and I think we both thought we were pretty smart because we did very, very well. But now I look back and go, we were just in the right place at the right time and ended up having a pretty good gig together. And
that's what. Yep. And that's what life is. I mean, you'd probably agree to this, is that you prepare like literally every day, keep your mind fresh, keep it active, look for opportunities, but you sometimes can make them happen. Like you can make them crystallize, but other times they appear and you're ready for them.
Correct. You know, and I think that changed the trajectory of my life when you and I were syndicating real estate. And, you know, I haven't looked back, but those are good times. And as smart as I thought I was, and now I look back going, oh my gosh, a monkey would have made money in Alberta at the time you and I were there.
Yeah, really.
But we were lucky enough. I mean, we worked hard. I mean, it didn't just come rolling in the door, but what a wonderful time. But that was 25 years ago, Andrew.
25 years ago. Yeah. And it was a fun, magical time. We won't bring up any of the stories, but we definitely had a good time. Yeah, and it was, I mean, and it was mostly young men doing very well in a very hot market in Alberta and getting good returns, doing well. I mean, it was a very special time.
It was. Yeah. And so I'm glad to have met you, and we sat in the same office, and now here we are talking. We didn't have this as a tool when we were marketing. Could you imagine? Like,
oh yeah,
unreal.
The world has changed, and it's amazing to have this. It took a while. I mean, they did have some version of this way back when, but it took a while for it to adopt. I mean, like all things, like people here, we might have this, you know, like whether it was graphene or something. It takes a while.
We had Citrix or whatever, and we had Blackberries. Right?
Blackberries, yeah.
And trios, like the Palm Trio. Yes. Like if you had that, you knew you were rolling good, right? I had one. I thought I was had it all going on.
Yeah, it's funny how times have changed, but at the same time, a lot of it still stays the same. I mean, foundational or fundamental stuff always remains the same. And maybe let me ask you this: do you think that's part of the disconnect? Is that people are very excited about AI, and rightfully so. There's lots of really cool stuff. Tech is very exciting. It's always exciting to be on the forefront of engineering and of what might be. But often people forget like the boring infrastructure. We need to build out stuff. And I would argue that, especially with mining, that is so crucial and critical today, more than any other time, give or take, like say other periods of massive change where we had to undergo massive projects to develop, in this case, the entire world. What do you think? Is it just a disconnect between people going, you know what, I'm distracted by a lot of fun, interesting stuff, and mining is mining. Oh, how do I feel about that?
Well, what a great question. And none of this is scripted, but I mean, I could go on a 10-minute answer to that, because before you and I met, I was in mining services, right? I cut my teeth in financial markets, and knowing that there was a stock market, I did a lot of Murray Pesham's staking in British Columbia. I staked Comess Mines. My name are on the tags at Comess Mines, but that was for Rabagliati, who worked for Dickinson, for Hunter Dickinson at the time. So when mining stopped and I was living up northern BC, my very first job with Shiny Pair of Shoes before I met you is Sam Coleus had an online grocery store. And so I ran Home Express in Calgary. And, you know, I'm 28 years old or however. Yeah, I certainly was in my mid to later 20s. I never had a shiny pair of shoes in my life. And I was an instant.com millionaire because I'm the manager of Home Express. Think of how far ahead we were of the curve at that time.
Yeah.
And it was going fantastic. But because my experience in the junior mining, I was going gold's $250 or $300 an ounce back then. And pets.com goes to $500 million, which was an awful lot of money back then.
Yes.
And I'm sitting there going, okay, I'm still trying to work it out in my head. It is so similar to right now to where we were in 98, 99, 2000 when the crash. And when the crash happened, boom, Home Express got shut down. Sam Coleus, he ran his boardwalk. I'm sure he still does. Shut it down. And then that's when you and I met. And I ended up, we were working at the same firm together from that. But my experience was I learned mining. So I was very well aware of the stock market from the mining point of view. Really didn't know anything about tech, but I was a good sales guy. And then that crashed, but I was going, oh my gosh, it's so similar to right now where nobody cared about mining.
Yeah.
But gold was $300, not $2,500 or $26, wherever we are today. So that's the big difference. And if you look at the trajectory of the Magnificent Seven and add a few more in there, and Bitcoin, something different, my best trade, or not a trade, but I've made more money at Bitcoin than I have running this damn company.
Yeah. Yeah.
For 9 years. And it took me a whole 15 minutes, right, to figure out how to buy it. But I see it so similar, but it's really hard to explain that to somebody. But I've seen this movie before.
Yes.
I have not. The only difference is gold is the commodity price is way higher than it was back then. But I think if they're going to keep printing money, the same principles apply. If central banks are going to buy gold, that's the number one thing I look at. And I go, when I think what the market misses on that is, okay, central banks, Poland, all these other central banks outside of the G7 are buying gold. And what are they doing? They're not buying treasuries. They're buying gold instead. So this is something I'm surprised more people aren't talking about, or they're selling treasuries to shore up a little bit of gold at Basel III. It's a tier 1 asset, blah, blah, blah. But I mean, these are each subject we could talk for an hour on.
Yes. No, it's funny.
I'm an expert.
No, hey, but listen, this is where experience matters, because history does often rhyme. Like, it doesn't necessarily repeat, but like you said, we've seen this. And it's funny you mentioned pets.com, because I was at Merrill Lynch, which was a pets.com. Pets.com was Merrill Lynch.
That's right.
So I saw that rocketing up, and I had an office beside a guy who and Merrill didn't really like selling individual stocks. It was like really that beginning of go get assets, don't manage them, don't sell stock, just pools and pools and pools of money. But there was a guy next door to me who just his entire book basically was Nortel. And I learned a very big lesson from just like hearing his phone going and going as the market was dropping, like nonstop. And I remember you'd hear lots of talking, lots of like sounds out there. And then like over the course of days and a week, like nothing. Like the phone would just ring. And you're like, I know he's in there. Like, oh my God, this is not good. And just the pain you'd see in the poor guy's face each day. But we see that we had a gold bug, this old, I mean, he probably wasn't even that old at the time. He probably was maybe 60 at the time in the office too. And I thought, why is this guy even here? Like who does mining? Who does this? Like, who cares about gold? This is totally irrelevant. I literally remember thinking that. And it was just a couple years later that you're like, oh boy, that's interesting. Look what happened. And I would say that the case for not only precious metals and gold, but just the entire mining sector, is like, it's so much more amplified on steroids. Just a cyclical play of it, but just if they want to do even a fraction of any of this energy transition stuff.
Yeah, it's shocking. And it maybe remind me, there's another guy from Merrill who got hung out. He had the biggest book on oncolytics. We won't name his name.
I know.
But it was the same situation, because I thought that's who you were going to bring up.
No, I wouldn't. Yeah,
everything changed. You know. But anyways, you just made me think. I totally forgotten about that name. But you know, but you're right. I mean, there's a disconnect, and because of technology and information's free right now, it's hard. Like, I mean, I've got some really, really sharp geologists, and they're 40 years old. They've only ever heard of a bull market, right? They haven't actually been in it. And so it's hard for them when I'm trying to explain what I think I know. And the more I know, the less I know. So I'm like Benjamin Button. I'm getting dumber and dumber because, you know what I mean? Because I'm learning it every day. That's how I kind of see it. But it is interesting. But again, math doesn't lie. I'm actually haven't lost, you know, am I tired? I'm weary. I'm almost 60 now, but I haven't lost the macro. It's the commodity has done what I thought it was going to do. What I can't figure out is the equities haven't followed yet. I think it's great opportunity.
I know people that have been in it for a while get annoyed because, like, yes, we've been waiting. We had a little bump there in COVID, but I just kind of relate to people like that was a little bump. Like, that's not a run. That wasn't it. And I know, because I feel it. I mean, I hate if someone asks me to be patient, but I have to be patient. That's what makes this job really exciting. Is it not only am I get to test my metal as far as like analyzing, the mining sector, different metals, but it's that discipline of saying we've got a massive macro theme. It's a thesis here. There's a lot of moving parts that are very difficult and intricate, but it's going to happen. And it's not just me and you saying it. I mean, I've watched a great interview with Michael Gentile. I think it was on CEO. Oh my God, I can't remember the name of it, but it was excellent. And he gives a bit of a refresher on, listen, this is what it looks like whenever the markets go. And it isn't, I mean, it is promotional saying that, but it isn't as well, because all ships do rise in that market. But the cream of the crop, when people look and they start going down, go, okay, what projects are a bit further advanced? What have good assays? Who are they partnered with? Oh, they've got to deal with Franco-Nevada. Who's got to deal with this? They start looking, and the money flies into those sooner. And that does eventually happen.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the one difference you mentioned, there's been a few head fakes. So I took this over out of frustration. I didn't mean to be in this business. I just wrote a check into the company because I was getting creamed in energy, and I was just helping out a guy I was coaching hockey with, and thinking, oh, this is going to happen quicker. And here we are today. But what's the big difference right now when those head fakes were? There's a head fake kind of 2016, 2019, right at 220. But Anico Eagles and the Kinrosses and those big guys weren't participating, and they are now. So sure, there's been a little bit of leakage in the last week over this Trump stuff. But I mean, you look at those guys have to move first at the top of the pyramid, and they are real moves before a guy like me eats. And in fact, there's a whole other level that's going to participate before it comes down to the junior exploration. That's how it works. But if you try and time things, you'll never get it right. Right? I mean, how many smart guys do I know or you that, made a bunch of money selling investments because of commissions, and then thought they could become good traders, and then they just get creamed, right? You can't, like, picking tops and bottoms. Very, very few, unless your name's Stanley, right? You can't do it, right? Yeah. And or very few people, and I've seen a lot of guys left to the wayside who thought they can. But what encouraged me most is the Kinrosses and the Nikos, and if you would have bought those companies, and I have a few of them, but Barrick is the only one that I just keep banging my head against. It's back to $23, which is what I probably bought it for 5 years ago, and so that's the only one I've kind of been wrong. But if you look at the Newmont, even with the little headwinds that they're having the last month, these are been very good investments. And so And that looks solid to me. So that trickle down effect is going to happen. And so it's, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and we know it's not a train, right? And so that's, I really think it's real. And, I can't tell you the exact timing, but I'm happy to be where I'm at right now for sure.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, the timing, I always joke that I'm not a timing guy. I'm not. The best positions I'm going to have are long-term builds into companies. And then I hate saying it again, but unfortunately being patient. Those ones tend to do better because you're waiting for milestones, you're hitting metrics. And to some degree, because of the lack of liquidity and interest sometimes in the junior mining, the price almost doesn't matter. If a company's hitting its milestones and it's hitting good results and it's being ignored, then it's cheaper, then I'm happy. Like, once again, I'm not looking to trade it. Like, I'm hoping that it's going to get bought out. It's going to become a mine. It's going to become like, and if a management keeps on doing what they say they're doing, then they should be rewarded. And that's kind of how I look at it. And then eventually you hit a cycle, or you hit the realization, and it is a slow burn realization, I think, that we have to do this mining thing. And to me, it almost feels like there either has to be a change of headwind in government and whatnot, and messaging, and to get people on board to say, listen, we're a resource country. Australia is, they get it. There's no harm in doing this. It doesn't, in fact, it doesn't go against the climate and nature and environmental narrative. It's an absolute necessary because it's the critical step in creating any of the solutions. And I think once that comes down from top down to bottom, then maybe that opens the floodgates a bit. I don't know.
You would think, you would think, and I agree. Because I've been in resource extraction for a very long time. There is no CEO out there that's okay. Let's just wreck the environment. We're probably, if it doesn't come from Canada, it's going to come from places that just don't have the rules and the desire and the willingness to do things properly. These days, if I have a fuel cache or something, I've got to have spill kits, everything. And if 3 drops hit the ground, we're recording it, and no one resents that. So it's our responsibility. And then we should take what we learn and good practices, and then we can export that to the other places that perhaps aren't as advanced or have the desire to do things properly. So I think we have it wrong. Like, Canada should be the #1 place in the world. The government should get out of the way. I'm not saying no rules.
Yes.
But I'm going, my gosh, like, I've yet to see, everybody's doing things so much different than they have over the last 10, 15, 20 years. And they're all for the betterment of good practices. And you're right. If you need energy and you need minerals, especially if you want a transition. And
yes,
the deficit on these, we're going to put ourselves in trouble because of policies of really, really well-intentioned people, but just really can't see further than a month. And then the other part was going in, what's different is the kids or people, they're investing in the stock market, not companies.
Yes.
Right? And that's the big difference.
Yeah.
Where if we're here, I'm comfortable. I mean, it's no fun, but it's, I'm investing in this company. And until that says no, I'm fine. But most people want gratification in 4 or 5 months because maybe the TV or the internet told them that's how it goes. Well, it's just not how it goes, right?
No.
Patient money. I remember when everybody said, when the .com boom, and you would have been there, right? Is, Warren Buffett's done. He's dead. He's an old relic. And it was common stuff. And you're going, he was just being honest. I don't understand tech, so therefore I won't. But people forget that, right? You're going, the news media at that time was just hammering on him, right? And you go, well, look at him now. Like 300 billion cash and still all the investments or whatever. I'm just making that number up. I think I read that today or yesterday.
Yes. Well, he's got a record amount of cash just sitting and waiting. And, and it's funny. Once again, I almost forgot about that the press was not very favorable to him. I mean, his name was obviously brought up because he's famous, but it was like, he's had 6 years of terrible returns. It's awful. And he would say
him out. Right? They did. And it's funny that we don't see clips and show that, because you're going, so they're very similar things, but he's no longer, Apple, I think, is a big holding, or Microsoft, both Apple and Microsoft for him now. And I don't have that Berkshire Hathaway. I should have, just because I want the hat and to go to Omaha.
Yeah, go to Omaha. Yeah.
But
and you made a good point. This, once again, I used to be a broker. I don't have a license. This isn't financial advice, but there is something to people shifting to ETFs and just saying, listen, I'll put 90% of my portfolio in a market. It's low cost. I don't have to pay this, that. I mean, that makes sense. I don't really have a lot of interest, but you'll do well. But
it was the counter to mutual funds, which were charging you 2.7. You're like, at the time, I'm like, ETFs are great. Let's get rid of these. And now you're going, but they don't buy private placements. And so now you're hollowing out the small. Like, it really affects guys like me, right? Where we got to fight to get to a $300 million market cap just so we can qualify for that passive money. But when they came out, oh my gosh, they were fantastic. But now I think they're a little bit of a problem.
They are, and there's too much accumulation in too few companies. BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street. I'm pretty vocal about it. People say, "Oh, well, they just represent the money. They don't have that power." No, they get the voting rights on that, so they do have the power. And they change boards, they change presidents and CEOs, and that should matter. And it should matter to people, because if you want to know if money makes the world go round, it does. And for them to look and go, like, if they're looking at an investment, they have to put 500 million to $1 billion. Like, it doesn't do anything to go to put $10 million in this project, even when they understand that the gain could be asymmetric. They're like, no, not really.
Yeah, there's no new mouse traps when you only go after heavy cash flows. And like, if we ever did a segment on BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, we'd have to put bags over our heads and change our voices, because then there's a whole thing I could go on for out, going, oh my gosh, but they own everything. And
they own everything.
It does not matter if this stock goes down, because they're making it up on the other one, and it's too much power. But anyways,
and it's nice when you have that control of that money. You go, well, the fees aren't that big. Yeah, but if the fees aren't that big on $12 trillion, like that's
it makes Standard Oil look like a fart in the wind. And they broke up Standard Oil at whatever in the 30s or late 20s, I forget now. But
so a little pivot here, because we're talking precious metals. We're going to bounce back and forth, because you've got quite an energy background as well, and we're not going to rehash the entire past, although it is fun. We can do that on our own time. Tell everyone what without your expertise in energy as well, because that's a big part of this conversation.
Yeah, I think my expertise is just being in the right place at the right time, because when I made the money, I really didn't know what I was doing, right? And including when you and I worked together, I just had a lot of energy and I could make more phone calls than anybody. Or, we just worked hard. But everyone kind of knows that my claim to fame is, and this is so long ago, I don't even like talking about it anymore. But, I was on the very, very, very front end of Athabasca Oil Sands. And, it was Canada's second largest IPO. And that allowed me I kind of retired in 2006. But even today, my energy portfolio is bigger than my mining portfolio. And, I kind of just listen to Eric Nuttall these days. I'm excited that if Keystone Pipeline, I'm kind of going, why isn't my, but I think this is going to come.
Yes.
Just more ability to get energy outside of Alberta or Canada. Saskatchewan's got great energy assets as well. And as does Northeastern BC. And so I think actually I'm excited about my energy portfolio, but I'm not active anymore. And there's no more junior oil, right? So what I was, again, I was the king of raising $2-3 million, 20 years ago. And luckily one of my best friends was running First Energy. And so what were really good deals that were too small for First Energy, I kind of get that introduction. And so I didn't really have to vet so much, because I had some extremely smart guys. And so that was a real big advantage I had. And now it breaks my heart. First Energy is no longer, GMP is no longer, Stiefel bought GMP, which bought First Energy. And then poof, they shut down the energy. And you go, how sad is that for Canada? I'm sure this podcast is more than just Canada, but that one breaks my heart. I have I've got a Stiefel account, and but I just go, wow, they closed down kind of, that's what Murray Edwards started, and Al Markin and Brett Wilson, and it was a good old Alberta boy could get up early in the morning and go hard to work, and they did very well. And now it's gone. Yeah.
It's sad. I mean, do you think that there's going to be a bit of a resurgence with and I'm going to put this under the caveat that this energy transition can't happen unless you have oil and gas, or going to have oil and gas for the next 50 years anyway. Because, and here's my argument, is if you just got, because Germany still uses coal, if you got the developing countries to stop using coal and just use natural gas, say, that alone, your carbon emissions would be drastically saved. I mean, it would be substantial. And you'd be able to still have Canada as a leading energy supplier, which is kudos to us. And a lot of these energy companies are also, like if you're talking at the BP, Shell, they're huge financiers of the transition. So give me your take on all that.
They're the biggest money providers for windmills and all that. There's no one bigger. And we've done the world a disservice by kneecapping our specifically our natural gas business. I was in Germany last week. They are taking down windmills for coal mines now, right? To get at the coal underneath, because they shut their nuclear down, and you're going, it's just a comedy of errors, but they're not small errors that affect millions of people. And I was in Munich when they fired their finance minister, right? So the left are eating themselves, and they're doing all these it's just insane, right? And all in the name of trying to, virtue signaling. The hearts are in the right place. These people, they want a better world. I recognize that. But big hearts and great ideas aren't implementing things, and unintended consequences. And we've just allowed people with great ideas to be in control of things, where you need hard-nosed business guys to do it, not because of profit, because at least as a business guy, even if you failed, and I failed at things too, right? I'm not a perfect track record, is because you implement ideas that you think are so good, and then you learn about the unintended consequences, and learning not to drastic change is never good, right? Like what was the question? Oh, the Ukraine war. So somebody's going, should Trump, and I'm a Canadian, I don't care. Or, I mean, I care lots, but I'm going, whoa, much like Afghanistan, you do not stop on a dime. Even if I didn't agree with the policies to where you are, you have to manage your way out of things, because rapid change is not good for anybody on either side, because that shock to a system is not, you can't shock things, right? Into being where you want it to be. It's a process, but only a business person who's done that and has experience. It's like after World War II, I remember reading about this, and no one talks about it, I believe it was called the Minutemen. And so there was all these industrial, and this is Canada I'm talking about, out of duty, they went and ran the government after World War II, but it's because they ran things before, and they were doing it out of duty. Now it's all career politicians, right? They're even run a business, or if they do, it's like a 2-person business or something, but they've never had 500 employees at one time. It's very stressful to have. Even at Scottie, I have 80 people working in the height of stuff. There's a lot of responsibility with that, right?
It's huge.
An awful lot, man. Like, I'm always worried about people getting hurt, and it's just so much coming at you, and it's just hard to make those decisions fast. And I'm not like great at it, but I've done it enough times and been involved at the startup of enough businesses that I go, that's where I find the politicians are none of them have ever done anything. They come out of university and they got great ideas, read a few books.
Yes.
But, never had to wonder, take money out on your credit card so you could pay your employees or something like that.
No.
Right? And
this is interesting, because this is like a mindset thing. So, and like I always remind people, we're called the market mindset for a reason, is that we want to not only talk about great projects and different sectors, but also the mindset of people. And I think you've touched on something, is that obviously a career politician has a very specific mindset, but an entrepreneurial CEO would have one mindset compared to, say, you're running Shell, where it's like that CEO is very different. Like that level of planning and detail and focus is very different than, say, me, who I can run a small business and I'm very flexible. At the minute I can change that level of time management, decision-making on the spot a lot of people think they could do it. It's very specific.
I could never do it.
Yeah.
I've got one of my best friends, has 3,000 employees and he doesn't have a life, but that is his life. And that's where he finds joy. And he probably has an IQ of 170. So, for me, I'm too casual, at this stage, I didn't run Athabasca, there's 1,000 employees there, but I didn't actually operate it. I put it together structurally, but here with Scottie, I've been an operating
Yes.
CEO for 9 years and I get things done, but yeah, I'm not, if it was a mining company and we decided that we're going mining, I would have to hire somebody that's way different than me because I'll say the wrong thing. I'll call it how I see it, or I'll I get frustrated with the government processes. And so it's just not for even a guy like me. I'm an entrepreneur. I like putting things together. And this one is just, I've never worked 9 years on anything, Andrew.
I know this is your longest one, but hey, you're getting great results. I mean, it's great. And I think it's interesting too, like that personality thing, acknowledging that within this sector specifically, and you put it in energy as well, is when you look at a team and I can look at people and go, oh, they brought this person on board. Oh, okay. They brought 2 M&A people on board and they did deals over here and here. You can get a sense of who the people are. And that at some point, like yourself, I hear this all the time. I don't want to operate a mine. Dear God, that's not fun. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a finder of things. I like putting deals together. And that type of personality, the mindset, the way they think, structuring a company, structuring a deal is quite a bit different than you sit in a board with someone who's like at Barrick or at Newmont, who's managing and overseeing tables of data for all sorts of projects all the time. And yeah, they're looking for stuff, but it's very different.
Very different. And I have 3 guys, 2 on the board and one my newest special advisor. They've all ran mines.
Yes. Yes.
Right. And so that's great. And I'm the dumbest guy in the room when I look at my board and my advisors, my geologists, and that's fine. I'm happy saying that. I'm good at putting a team together. Right.
Well, that's what you should do. Surround yourself. If you're the person in the room, not sure, that's the best place.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's about giving, what I've learned about managing people is have a long-term vision on them, right? We're not so easy to get, that was stupid. Boom. It's kind of like Howard Hughes let some guy put the wrong fuel in his plane one time, crash that airplane. And the guy was like, I'm going to get fired, of course, or get killed or whatever. And then Howard Hughes, I believe the next day was going to go test. It was a test pilot, I believe. I'm just pulling this out of the air. But he goes, no, I want Joe to fill my plane up because he knows he'll never make that mistake again. And so, I'm the guy probably making more mistakes, or what I do is I just take everybody's opinion and I try and find the best route to everybody's opinion. And, it doesn't always go well for this board or that board or this guy, but I just try to do the best. And I certainly, they run me, I don't run them. And I think that it's worked out so far.
Well, it has worked out. I mean, not only has it worked out because of Athabasca and that energy play back then, but it's worked out because you've and not only because it's you're part of it, but you've hit great results. You've got great results. You brought Franco-Nevada. They don't do a lot of deals and partners with juniors, so they obviously saw something as well.
It's very cool. That was so. I've in this adventure of mine with Scottie. I did 3 bought deals, and those are difficult, right? As your banker, you get something like that much paperwork to go through, right?
Yeah.
And when I did the deal with Franco-Nevada, it made a bought deal look like Disneyland. Because I'm getting there a team of lawyers, and I'm going, but I'm just a junior exploration company. I'm really happy to do it, but we're really pleased. And one of the things I like to emphasize, as far as we know, we're the only company Franco's ever invested in that doesn't have a resource. So that says something right there. Yes. Obviously, they model it and they have their opinions on what they see and the work that we've done. And they also gave us equity, which is not typical.
Yes.
For Franco. So I think, from an investor point of view, you just go, well, there's your validation, hopefully, until you drill the next hole, nobody knows, even if you're Chris Bell at Franco. This is, and I've learned this from the oil business, and but you don't lose all your money in the oil business unless you're going to go wildcat. Pretty much you might lose a little bit, but not everything. But in mining,
Yes.
you can lose it all. And but yeah, we're blessed, because we Thomas, who's my geologist, the geologist for Scottie, he passed the test with flying colors. Technically, this thing stands on its head. And what people have to understand is we've been shorthanded since day one. Like, we have never got that bump.
Yes.
And we've never had that large amount of money where, I could go drill, 40,000 meters at a time. We've been doing these smaller little programs, and, I could do 100,000 meters next year if it didn't blow my shareholders out, and I could raise the money. There's no raising money for me now is not an issue.
Yes.
But I can't raise money when my stock at a $50 million market cap, because I blow myself up. And I am a 5% shareholder of this company, of which I paid for my shares. Right.
Yes.
I'm an investor, and so you just never get it perfect. But again, just don't blink, and don't whore yourself out. Right. And,
yes.
And some guys have to, and I shouldn't say it that I shouldn't be so harsh on that, because this is difficult, and there's a lot of good stories out there right now that are difficult. I'm just feel a little bit comfortable right now because I still have $7 million in the bank, and a bunch of news to come out, and a resource coming out. So we feel, if I don't look at the ticker, if I don't look at my stock price, I'm pretty happy. I know we've done a good job, and we'll be rewarded when the markets starts comparing things. That's kind of how we look at it. But Franco's great. Two other things, there's 4 things that happened to Scottie in 2024 that I think are some of the 4 best things that ever happened, apart from our great drill results. Michael Gray from Agentis picked us up, right? I didn't give him a dime. He wrote an 11-page report on Scottie. That's a very respected analyst within our sector so that started. Ross Beatty bought 5% of the company about a month later. Franco-Nevada came in and bought a royalty from us. And that gives me that technical validation. And then we brought on Kevin Jennings to be a strategic advisor. And he owns 30 million shares of the company that he bought dominantly in the market. And that's happened is all these big companies now is going, well, Kevin's been, retired for 7 years. He was a big company guy.
Yes.
And he's a financial modeler of deposits.
Yeah.
So it has resonated well. Again, perhaps not with the individual investor, don't know who he is at all. So it's not spurring these big companies don't want to buy me in the market because they'd have to buy me, right? So there's no use for them to do so. So anyways, but those are really, really, I'm flattered. I feel blessed, and like I say, they're engaged, and so they're helping and pulling on the rope, and so we're feeling good.
Yeah. And I guess I should put out there too, is that this isn't paid for either. We have no working relationship. We're good friends. And I want people on as well that have expertise and a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge, but also that sit in this very unique position where everyone has to kind of market, but you don't really have to market because you have these great relationships, and you've got Franco-Nevada, you've got money in the bank, you've got a drill program going. So you get to have a breathing space to go, I can focus on the work at hand, which often, if you're a CEO of a mining company, half of it is the work at hand and the other half is raising money. And that is kind of the role. It's like,
no, but I do have to market because my job is to create value for my shareholders.
Yeah.
And so now I haven't been banging the drum on a bazillion, I'm still going to conferences. I still go out and tell everybody how great we are. And, there's no such thing as a bad mining story. So everybody on the plane going there, we all got great stories.
Yeah.
But the way I've looked at it is I will throw a whole bunch of money at marketing and do this promotion, whatever that means, when I feel comfortable that we're in a real bull market from a retail point of view. Because right now, I can do a bunch of things and, my stock will go up 5 cents or whatever that number is. I have no clue. But it'll come down just as quick as it goes up.
And,
so, I've been waiting, but make no mistake, soon as soon as I go, okay, this is what the public wants,
Yes.
you'll see me turn it up to 11, right? And I'll make sure you can't get away from not seeing Scott,
Yeah.
right?
And this is
Um,
good. This is a good segue. So, because this talks about kind of what we talked about before with Michael Gentile, is that when it gets turned on, all ships rise, but some rise. If you go by any data from the past, some
yeah,
go through the roof. I mean, I'm not being promotional. It's just a fact.
yeah,
And that is not that hard to figure out. They have to have a smart team, but they look at, okay, what companies have strategic investors? And there's, like, I happen to know quite a few because I'm in the space, but if you're new to this space, there's not that many. There really isn't. So you can whittle down very quickly where that next tranche of money is going to flow to very quickly. And when this happens, it happens fairly quickly as well.
sure.
So give me your thoughts over that whole kind of thing, is because it kind of sums up with the whole staying dedicated, staying focused, having a thesis, having some patience. I hate saying it, but what are your thoughts?
I'm going to steal something from who is it, Rick Rule, right? Because he's completely right on a lot of things he says, and it's like the eye of a needle, or the garden hose in the Hoover Dam. It's gradually, and then it's suddenly, because this market is so small, right? Like, what's the bond market? 400 trillion. What's the gold market? 3,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
And so unfortunately the exit is small. Like, so everyone's, in and out, and that's what these traders are. But people have forgotten that the entrance is also small.
Yes.
And when fear hits the market, right? And that's when this tech, it's going to change. And I love Elon Musk. I've either, but I mean, Tesla's market cap's more than every car company combined, but they sell 1/10 of the cars. That's a problem, even though Elon Musk is very intriguing person to me right now. But you go, so that entrance is also as small as the exit door.
Yes.
But when they're all trying to get in, these things they can go ballistic, and that's what I'm waiting for. And I thought that was going to happen in 2019 or 2020, but here we are going into 2025. So, but again, the longer if you look at the cycles, there's a tech cycle, there's this has gone on too long, so the real last market is 2011, 2012. So now we're going, when it turns on, I still believe, and and there's just fewer and fewer projects, and where we might be a little bit different. I'm sandwiched between two mills. I'm going to come out with a resource, and that resource, is going to be about, hopefully, 1 million ounces. Again, it's beyond my control, but really what I want to show people is that high grade nature and how few meters we found that because we've been shorthanded. Our hit rate is extraordinary. It's extraordinary.
Yes.
And we've done the metallurgy, and so there's lots of neat things going to happen here in the next 3-4 months. And and
that's good. That's good short term as well. So that's very interesting.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that it is small. I mean, it's part of the problem we have is, even when you turn on, how do you get billions of dollars into our small, tiny junior market? The flip side of that is that it gives a retail audience, which is largely ignored individual stocks, especially in Canada, to say, listen, yes, I once again, not financial advice. I'm not your stockbroker. Go talk to them. But yes, you should be in managed money. There's no doubt about it. Just put it away and forget it. But there's an opportunity to take a small portion of your risk capital, your speculative, your venture cap, and you can place it into things that have, I just call it asymmetric gains. Like, it's like gains on steroids. It's equivalent to the crypto stuff without the fraud, or let's say half of the fraud. There's less lifestyle than all of the cryptos, which were 99.9%. We find out we're actually just frauds. This is something real, and there's a narrative that is changing, and its story is coming around. People are coming to terms with, okay, we do need these critical metals. We do need silver. We do need gold. The gold story in Canada is a bit weird, or in North America, but that's why we like to pivot to people and say, like, the BRICS nations, they get it. They're piling it in there. The federal banks, they're piling in, they're buying. And it's, sometimes you have to skip over the narrative and go, what are people actually doing? The people with money, what are they doing with their money? And that's an important consideration rather than just, I'm telling you one thing, I'm doing another.
Absolutely. And you go, look, if you own the Turkish lira, you want to own gold, because everything's done, the milkshake theory and all the US dollars runs everything. This is completely true. But if you're outside that, the inner circle, you need to buy gold so you can convert it to US dollars to pay your debt back, right?
Yes.
And that's what's happening. And when fear hits the market, and it will, right? Gold's insurance, right? You don't buy gold, it doesn't give a return, it costs money to hold it. Yes. This is all true, but there's no counterparty risk if you physically hold it. And what it is insurance from, it's your purchasing power. A Roman toga costs an ounce of gold. A nice Canali suit today is an ounce of gold. And if a suit costs, maybe my suits are going to cost $10,000, right? But it doesn't mean the suit's worth $10,000. It just means the purchasing power of that piece of paper is worth less. And this is the connect that I don't think people they hear it, but they don't feel it, right? They don't understand it. And so just for that, they're going to print more money. Gold's going up.
Yeah.
There's going to be a moment that gold is going to be big in favor. And, even Rob McEwen's going 27,000. I heard another very, very smart person say 15,000.
You're 9/10s. Yep.
Yeah. And you're just going, okay. And it could very well be. Heck.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a very proud owner of Bitcoin and I have been for a long time, over 5 or 6 years now. I never would have thought 91,000 or wherever we are today. I'm going, oh my gosh, I probably made more in the last 2 days than the actual original coin cost. Right? You just go, wow, it's scary to me. But I'm still, when I bought it, if I lose all my money, that's fine. But I bought it for like a 10-year. I just want to see where it's gonna be, right? And I've lost lots of money, but it's hard not to trade it right now. I'm telling you, I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yes.
But I just don't want to give tax to the government, so I'm not trading it.
No. Yeah, I hear you. Now it's interesting because we had a conversation with Tavi Costa from Crestcat yesterday. He's phenomenal. Crestcat's a great activist fund in the space, great supporter of mining. They've got great projects that they invest in. Great team, Quentin Henning. I mean, and Tavi is awesome. And it was great timing because gold's been pulling back. Where even like sometimes I think, am I drinking the Kool-Aid? So to have Tavi come on, and we spent like an hour and 10 minutes talking with him, and he just reiterates the stuff that we already know as well. Like there's a change in government in the US. Trump comes in, he's not going to not print money. Like there's no solution. You have to. You have to. The rates are going to come down. They have to, because otherwise you blow everything up. And there's no upside, political or elsewhere, to go, hey, US, are you in for 4 years of suffering? No, they're not. They've gone through 4 years of suffering. Now, that people say the stock market's up and everything, that's 0.1% of the population. Most of the population, just like Canada, are struggling. Their purchasing power is being decimated, and they're hurting. They need an actual economy to turn around, not a stock market, propped up by BlackRock and Vanguard and who else.
Yeah, and that you hit it right on the head. You and I, we've been in the market for 35 years or what be it. The rest of the world isn't, or the rest of our population. Not forget the world, our population isn't. So you and I see, the S&P's up again, right? Oh my gosh, but that is not helping Joe Main Street, right? And those people are. It's very precarious times, and so this leads to gold, and Tavi, gosh, sharp young guy, or I don't know how young he is. He seems young to me, but I don't miss a Friday. Right? It's free information, and it's really good and gives me a lot of my ideas, right? And but it's a calming moment when he's an authority. He just reminds you of Eric Nuttall. I remember when Eric Nuttall was just this little kid in the energy business, and now he's I just listen to Eric Nuttall now for my energy needs. But Tavi's, I mean, he's got the macro down quite well, and he's good for the industry for sure.
He really is. And I love any group or person that's willing to share their wisdom, their advice, their thoughts on the market. And of course, like he represents Crestcat, so he wants you to invest in their fund, and you should. It's great. Go to their website, just as Scottie. And we always want to make sure we bring on guests that have great real projects that are doing really cool stuff, regardless, so that we can expose people. Because I make no bones about it. I'm like a big PR promoter for mining in general, and I make no bones about it. I want people in it for whatever reason, whether it's the financial and the kind of gold asset backed and you're concerned about the economy, or it is that you want this transition. To me, I don't mind which way you want it, but you also want it in your backyard. That's my argument, is that we've gotten too accustomed here, especially in a place like Vancouver. It's beautiful. We're very spoiled in a lot of ways. It is gorgeous and whatnot. And a lot of people don't know how energy comes about, where it comes from. And you say to them, like, hey, listen, if you want to go all electric just here, you need something like 6 or 7 new Site C dams. How do you feel about that? No.
Yeah.
No nuclear. No. Don't want any more oil and gas. No. No coal. Obviously, no. You go, okay, well, where is this coming from? Like,
from the
what's the solution?
Yeah, from the gas station, right?
But I want my EVs. I want more Teslas here. And you're like, well, okay, like there's a disconnect. And that is in part probably because top down, the education is being more ideologically focused, and that's fine. But you need to have people that can also then deliver on a smart, robust plan. And I'd argue, not that I want to get into politics, there are people in the Liberal Party that do have some common sense that could do stuff. But you know what? We need a break so that people understand that there's no harm in investing in your own country, in projects that are going to help the entire planet. And if we got excited about that, rather than just kind of protesting and marching the street about stuff that everyone knows, that might be of more value than anything else.
100%. And the big problem is a guy like me, not that my opinion matters, but even the bigger guys that run bigger businesses, they're not allowed to express their political opinions, right? Because my responsibilities to my shareholders, and I probably have a bunch of different ideas of how things should be run. And so that's my responsibility. So it does my shareholders a disservice if I go, well, I think this guy is horrible and this person doesn't know what they're doing. But I'm the small guy, and you go up the chain and you just notice, why aren't all these bigger guys that run large, they don't. Now they might vote with their dollar and get the politician that they want, but it's really precarious because, I can't say my political views.
I mean, really, it should, and most of the time, and hopefully we'll get back to this. We'll get more into the middle. This is my take. We get more into the middle, get the extremes on both sides, go away. And then we can just kind of go, when we talk politics, it's people get bored because they're like, oh, you're just talking about a little bit higher tax rate or a little bit higher that. And that's how it should be, is that people are like, it's not very interesting because it's very small minutia that, isn't that big a deal.
I'll tell you how it should be, right? Politics is like Leafs and Habs fans, right? I'm a Leafs fan forever, right? I'm a Habs fan forever. If we could just as a society agree that we don't like any politician, okay, and we're going to hold them all their feet to the fire, and we change them often like diapers, and for the very same reason that you change a diaper, right? Like,
I love it.
But our love for politics and oh, that's my guy or this is my gal, and you're just going, whoa, let's all agree that they work for us and let's hold their feet. We need smaller government. How can everybody has to understand we need smaller government because we have to be efficient, right? We don't need the more people you put in an organization, the more chaos it is, the less that gets done. Adding more people doesn't distribute the work evenly. It just doesn't. And if running things, you learn that. If you have too many people, you're inefficient. You have too less people, you're inefficient. You just got to find that right mix. But if we all just quit thinking I'm this or label ourselves and go, look, let's just change them all the time, but let's get good policies. But unfortunately, we wear our love for politicians like hockey jerseys, right?
We do, and it's really amplified, and it is disappointing. It's sad. I'm hoping that we can find somewhere in the middle, and I'm hoping that it's also then a real push for small and medium, although the term medium now is like 100 million above or something like, I mean like medium, like really like 10, 15, 20, $30 million business So that people, like the general person, goes, you know what? I have a shot at creating my own business that could be something, and that's significant to an individual if they have a $10 million business, instead of it being, hey, let's try to just court Google. Let's just try to court Microsoft, and we'll focus our entire strategy upon 7 companies out there, and then hopefully everything will work out just fine. But
Absolutely.
once again,
we got to
takes
support small businesses, man. You got guys trying to figure out how to be efficient, right?
Yeah.
And efficient by not just throwing tons of money where no one can compete with you. And we're a little bit backwards, but I think you're right. The pendulum always swings too far this way, and then it'll swing too far that way. And, but eventually with this free information, and we have such access to information now, I believe as a society, we just don't know how to digest it yet.
Yeah.
And we just get whatever pulls on my heartstrings. I'm like, then Thomas, who's super, super analytical, super guy, loves everything. He always brings me down because I go, okay, do you see this? Well, I got to see things 5 or 6 times. But I think as a society, we just never had so much access to information, and we just don't know how to process that at the moment. And I think
overwhelming.
Eventually, it's going to be good, right? I mean,
the
world is better today than it ever has been ever. Yet we feel we're more stressed. There's less poverty. The world is markedly better than it was 25 years ago when you had long hair and we were sitting in the same office together. Right?
Let's not talk about my hair. Let's leave me alone.
I think you look great. And you're fit. Or I know you've been working out because you're looking very healthy, and I know that you ran a race.
Yes.
But, it looks good on you.
Yeah.
Your brother was bald like 25 years ago.
He was. Yeah. It's a family. Right? It's a family condition.
But you look like the guy from the Cars, Rick, right? You were like long hair.
It was great. Yeah. I knew I had to live that moment and just soak it up while I had it.
Yeah. No, I remember.
and that's the way we have to look at today and every day to some extent, is that often whenever things are rough and the pendulum swinging against us, that's when we have to have more resilience and more resolve. And speaking to you or speaking to Tavi yesterday, is that it's unwavering. He's certain. And once again, it's not just you two. It's like I said, Michael Gentile, it's Rick Rourke. There's so many people that I've been watching and listening to, and they're like, no, this is happening. And I know people get sick of hearing it because there are people that have been in it for 10 years, 15 years that are patiently waiting. And it, that raises, the hackles a bit, but it has to. The fundamentals are there. People are recognizing that this transition is happening. Everyone wants it in some face or version as it is. Even people say, Trump's not going to do it. He is going to do it. And he's got Elon Musk on there. They're going to do it. It's just going to look different. So once again, it comes back to that. Too much information sometimes is just as bad as no information. And whittling through it, we're going through growing pains. I kind of say to people, it's a real challenge for someone brand new to be open-minded to the conversation of mining. Because even when I was growing up, extractive services, you'd say, oh, they're evil. They're terrible. They just want to harm the earth and cause all these problems. And you don't know any better. You just think, oh, that's just how it is. Yeah. So then you put yourself in a comfortable position to go, is that true? Like, should I look at that? Most of the time you just go, no, I don't even want to look at it. It's terrible. I'll look at the picture and but when you do look into it, you start to realize, oh, wait, that's not true. There's much nuance to the story. And that's where everyone has to do with all of their ideas and go, are you willing to take a look, take them off the pedestal and go, let me look at you with fresh eyes and go, is there something in here? Yes. On even extreme, is there something of value? There's something of value, maybe less, and then kind of come together in the middle. And if we could come to that kind of critical thinking and reasoning, it would be good.
Yeah, critical thinking is something that we need to bring back. But you just take a deep breath. Anybody listening to this, and there's not going to be anybody against this because we're just speaking to the choir. Anybody watching this, we're probably all like-minded anyways. But you take a breath and you look around and go, what has mining not touched? Everything I see, mining, or energy. I think the drywall is gypsum. Isn't that mined? Right?
That's it.
I mean, everything that I see. Okay, so you just go, okay, it's essential. It's like the air. It's essential.
Yeah.
And same with energy. There's nothing you can point to that energy, oil and gas hasn't touched. Doesn't exist. Nothing. And I'm saying do it responsible. I would argue that we do it responsibly.
Yes.
But that's, you know, we have an education problem, and we can always get better. I don't think we're perfect, but you know, yeah, it's a mindset, and it's just it's interesting times right now. But eventually we can learn the easy way or the hard way. But make no mistake, the hard way is going to come.
It's coming.
Because math doesn't lie. We can be frustrated that we don't get the timing right, but the only thing that doesn't lie is math. Right?
Yes.
And that's the only thing that we know for sure is constant. So if we could just keep holding back, we're going to hit a brick wall, and it's going to be more painful. And it's already going to be painful, right?
Yeah.
Try and find a copper mine. Like, it's no green energy without copper. Now, I'm a gold guy, but you know, oh my gosh. And copper is expensive to find. Where not that gold's cheap, but I mean, copper is a whole other level of capital intense inputs, right? It's you know, because we talk amongst ourselves, well, should we get another project? And I'm going, I'm a one-story guy. You know, some guys have multiple stories. I'm going, nope, I'm just going to stay to one story. And I just got to pull this across the line, and I will. Because math doesn't lie. So I'm feeling confident. It's no fun, but stick with me. Train's going that way. You can get on right now. You can buy my stock cheaper than anyone.
You did. Yeah.
Right? So how wonderful is that?
It's great. All right. I got to let you go. But let us know, like you hinted and you kind of told us there's stuff coming next couple of months. So you can't tell us what it is, but what are people going to pay attention to? Because right now you go, well, you know, gold's down a little bit. It's not going to stay down. Maybe some people took profit. They took it off the table, threw it into Bitcoin, made extra money. They're coming back. It's just a matter of when. Yeah. What do you have coming up the next few months that someone goes, okay, I'm going to put that ticker tape to the side. I'm going to keep an eye on you guys and see if you're doing what you're doing.
Well, keep your eye out for news, because we're going to kind of project to the market maybe a little bit of a shifting of gears, but I still have lots of drill results to come. I've been kind of holding them back a little bit, and I get the emails and going, but are you not happy I didn't put it out during the election, right?
Yes.
And I went, it's conference season in Europe right now, but I went a week early because I'm going, I just know I was wrong about the Kamala thing. I actually thought Kamala was going to win. And I thought no matter what, no side was going to accept the other guys. Now I've been wrong because I'm going, there's not as much angst as I would have thought. So I'm wrong there. But right now, that's all the focus. So why put out that news? And I get to determine what's material or not, and I'm happy. But I'm not worried about it. It's going to be business as usual, just like last year, the year before, and the year before that. So that's good. We're going to have our first MRE, so our resource should come out, and you know, hopefully, I'm still waiting on some results. I don't have all my results back. So I think I anticipate, hopefully I get that before PDAC. And we're excited. Good. We're excited to get that out. But it's more the PEA I'm excited about than the actual resource, because when you understand that I'm right on surface, I'm at or at Two Faces right off the get-go with a permit and green power, So that's the really what I want to articulate to the market is, look how cheap those rocks could be.
Yes.
And we're open. Like I could drill 100,000 meters right now, and it's just finding that. So we're not done.
No.
So we're in good shape, and I owe no money on any piece of land. We own it 100%. Every piece of land. We're in really good shape. We're not going to blink, and we're going to do exactly what we did last year and the year before. You know, and we know it's going to turn in our direction, and we just keep putting. Just look at the trophy case of investors I have. It's flattering to me, and I don't see that changing. I have a lot of support, and you know, I'm getting a lot of great advice. So I'm feeling I'm in good hands, and hopefully my shareholders understand they're in good hands. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Brad, really appreciate it. Love talking to you. It's always great. It's always fun, and we're looking forward to over the next couple of months towards PDAC. I think it's going to be a wild VREC and PDAC. I think things are heating up. Could be. So
could very well be. Yeah.
Fingers crossed. All the best. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Good seeing you, Andrew. Appreciate your time. A whole hour.
Well, we can talk for another hour if you want. Like,
I got to go do a video over in Saanich, Golden Triangle University. So I'm going to go and do a video over there now.
Excellent. All right. We'll talk to you later, Brad. See ya.
Awesome, Andrew. Bye now.
Cheers. Bye-bye.